Yes. Another week. All right. So thank you for watching. If this is your first time, welcome. I want to say hi to all those regulars. And I don't know if we can have someone go on the YouTube chat to interact with, yeah. All right, so here we go. Where should I go now? Oh, recording. Recording. All right. So I want to say hi to those who are here. Okay. I want to say hi, especially to the family who are here and those who are abroad, scattered to the four corners of the earth, as the word says. All right, so let's begin. We are going to be looking at faith today, understanding the faith of Yahusha. Well, we are going to be paying more attention on faith and what it means to us. All right? And you know, at the top there, it says, when it is impossible to please him. Coming from Hebrews 11, verse 6. Could you read on the bottom? But without faith or belief or confidence, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahushua must believe that he is, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So we cannot please him without this thing called faith. So if we cannot please him without this thing called faith, we have to really delve into what faith means, all right? Now, of course, you will get Christians doing a lot of these teachings on faith, but the faith as a follower of the way is different from the faith of a Christian, okay? So many of us might be listening to this and say, hey, we got this so many times in church. This sounds Christian. It's a little different from Christianity, all right? So without this faith, it is impossible to please him. So look at what is faith. Coming from Hebrews 1, we know this by heart. Read it, please.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
And in other words, a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. You cannot prove it, and yet still you believe. So that is why when people come to us speaking about things to do with the Most High and the Messiah, they are asking for proof. These are the people who are agnostics and atheists, unbelievers, who only can relate to the flesh and not to things of the spirit. So for you to relate to them, you have to prove something to them. All right? You have to show them something, which is why Neville said to us the other day, he said that we'd have to show him, we'd have to see it before he believes, right? Everything he has to see it first. This is not faith. Faith is you believing even though you have not seen it. All right? Which the world would think is foolish. But what does the word say? The wisdom of the world is foolishness to Yahushua. And likewise, they cannot understand the things of Yahushua because they are given to us through faith. So what is faith? Faith comes from the Hebrew emun. That is from H539, established that is figuratively trusty, also abstractly trustworthiness, faithful, truth. And we're going to look at faithful also soon. So it is trusting in something that you cannot see. All right? So things that you believe in that you cannot see. You see, faith, the people of this world have faith in different things in this world. Okay? They believe in their education system. Yeah? Even though they don't know what is going to come out of the education system, they push so nonetheless. Our parents here in Jamaica, they will do anything to send their children to school and send them through school, even if that child has no affinity for school. They believe in their religion. One of the reasons why it's so hard to reach people, because they just believe in this religion called Christianity. They just believe and have faith in the religion. They have faith in everything that these people offer. And faith, of course, can be manifested. A simple way to show how faith is manifested is that when you go somewhere and you see a chair, you sit on the chair, believing the chair. You have never proven it, but you believe that that chair will hold you up. The fact that it is there, it must hold you up. So you go and you sit on it. That is faith. But when the Most High says, have faith, believe in me, that now becomes the most difficult thing for us to do because we cannot see it. Yes? When he says, cast all your cares on me because I care for you, you're afraid. When he says, do not worry about what you shall eat or drink. Oh, we say we have to work and we have to do this. This, of course, is coming from this time with this injection where you get that a lot from people. I have to do this and I have to do that. No faith. So that is why faith is a dividing factor, because few people will truly be able to believe in that which they cannot see. And the Most High sees that as being righteous for you to believe him who you cannot see and reject that which you can see. All right? So I'm going to answer our question early. The faith of Yahusha. In Revelation 14:12, it says, here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Allah and the faith of Yahusha. Now, the meaning of there is from the Greek ek or ex, a primary preposition denoting origin. So the faith of Yahusha means the faith comes from Yahusha. The point whence motion or action proceeds, that is, faith proceeds from Yahusha or out of place, time, or cause, literally or figuratively, direct or remote. All right, so we don't need to go into a lot of different. The faith of Yahusha means the faith that is coming from Yahusha. And of course, coming from Yahusha includes his commands, his teachings, and his way of life. Because those of us who say we believe in him have to walk as he walked, having the same faith as he had. All right? So it is not a simple thing, as we have been finding out in our daily teachings here that we have every day here among our family. It's not an easy stroll through the park to have the faith of Yahusha. And a lot of us betray ourselves thinking that because we are doing certain things, because we are obeying certain things, we are keeping the law, we might do this and other people are not doing that, and it feels that it justifies us. But that's not it. The faith of Yahusha is deep, and it's not a walk in the park. All right, so what does it mean to have the faith of Yahusha? It begins with Matthew 16:24, which we know by heart. Matthew 16:24, to have the faith of Yahusha. This is where it all begins. All begins here. We're going to look at the faith of Yahusha, and then we're going to look deeper into faith. Matthew 16:24.
Then said Yahusha unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me.
Deny himself. So this is where faith begins. Faith begins with ignoring the self. Ignoring what the self wants, what the self needs, what the self strives after, what the self dreams after, what the self is comfortable with. what the self is used to, deny all of that, and be willing to take up whatever this consequence comes with that denial and follow in the footsteps of the Messiah. That is faith. That is having the faith of the Messiah. Matthew 4, 18 to 22. Remember, without faith, it is what? Impossible to please him. So we have to get to the root of it. Verse 18.
And Yahusha, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren. Can you mute? Somebody mute? Okay.
Simon.
And Yahusha, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and followed him.
All right, hear this now. These men are fishermen. And when the Messiah called them, they straightway left their nets. That is the faith of Yahusha. Whatever you're doing, when you are called, you give up everything that you are doing and immediately follow the Messiah. That is the faith of Yahusha. Very responsive. When you have faith, when a person truly has faith, that person is responsive. At the drop of a word, bam, that person responds to the word. That person finds out, hey, we should not be doing this. Bam, that person stops immediately. At the drop of a dime, we are called to go through any risky, terrible, rough situation. And at the drop of a dime, that person just lines up, boom, I'm ready. That is the faith of Yahusha. Continue.
Somebody, okay. Just real quick, when we look on straightway, that is a very important word in this verse, because it could be go back there from where it is 20. Is it 20? It could read and they left their net and followed him. But we see straightway it is telling us how they left. They didn't say hold on a second there, right there. Right away, they left their nets and followed him. So just want to bring out the importance of the word straightway in that verse.
And straightway comes from the Greek yoteos, which actually means directly. That is at once or soon as, forthwith, immediately, shortly, straightway. Now, we know, those of us who are with the word, we know that several times the Messiah told people to follow him, and they said that they had to do this, they had to do that. The Messiah never ever made provision for that. He told them to find another way and follow him immediately. Immediately. Remember the man said he wanted to bury his father. He said, let the dead bury the dead. Yeah? Yes. Not even marriage, not even death. That's what it's saying. Immediately. Okay? That is the faith of Yahusha. Continue.
And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, in a ship with Zebedee, their father, mending their nets. And he called them. And they immediately left the ship and their father and followed him.
And that's why the Messiah said, if you are not willing to forsake all that you are, you cannot be my disciple. And this is why they were his disciples who held out to the end. Even when other disciples left him and he said, you have to drink my blood and eat my flesh, these still stayed with him because they had denied themselves. They did not hear him and hear this nice preaching and follow him thence. He called them directly and they denied themselves immediately and followed him.
Let me look on 20 again for our word. Scroll back to 20 a little bit. Just want to bring out the importance of the words in these verses. So we see in verse 20, it says, and they straightway left. So back down to 22, it is the same thing, and they immediately left. And we see who else was there, Brother C, their father. And it shows that they leave their father right there. So they deny even their father and left to go with the Messiah. Very, very important. It doesn't matter who or what you're doing. When we are commanded to do the will of the Most High, just leave. Don't waiting for anyone, by the way, because if the Most High call you, maybe he have planned to call your brother next week. They're going to say, no, let me wait for my brother. You're going to lose out. And the Most High can come and call your brother, and he will answer. If he answer, he will go away, leaving you right there in the pit of hell. That's it.
Yep. And of course, we have this notation here for homework. You can read Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. Those tell us really what it means to have the faith of Yahusha. All right, Matthew 10, 37 to 39. Read, please.
He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
So if in following the Messiah right now as we are, if we love our parents and son or daughter or anyone more than the Messiah, then we do not truly have faith, the true faith of the Messiah, and we are not worthy of him. Verse 38.
And he that taketh not his stake and followeth after me is not worthy of me.
All right, so if we are not willing to take the consequences of denying everything, including ourselves, then we are not worthy of the Messiah. And a thing about faith, and I think we have it to look after, is that faith comes with it a willingness to suffer, a willingness to be disadvantaged, a willingness to be abused, to be in trouble, to everything negative. And why is that? Because faith requires a belief in that which you cannot see, such firm a belief that you are willing to take whatever comes with you believing that. And when we do that, then we will move from faith to faith, because we will go through that one, then another challenge comes up. We have the same belief that whatever it is, the Most High will take us through. You believe in that, you move to another faith. And that is the life of a person that is of faith, moving from faith to faith. Verse 39.
He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it.
All right, so I didn't even know that I was going to read this, and it's the same thing that I just said here. You losing your life means every single angle that you go, there is something that you have to give up on, something that's some struggle, but you are willing, through belief, to entrust yourself in the Most High to take you out of these problems. Yeah. Matthew 19:21. Just showing you quickly what it means to have the faith of the Messiah. Read, please.
Yahusha said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me.
That requires faith. If you are rich, someone tells you to come and sell everything that you have and give to the poor, you are not going to be left with anything. You're going to be down to the level of the poor. Yeah? And a lot of us are in this thing and we are selling what we have. And what are we doing with the money? Anyway, thou shalt have treasure in heaven and come and follow me. So we cannot follow him without faith. Yes? This is for a rich person. True faith is being willing to give up on everything that they have. If you cannot do that as rich people, it won't work.
Also, I just see our next part of this verse 21. Lest anyone might think that it is just so easy. Okay, I could do that. I have all of this. I could do it. I mean, that's no problem. It reads, Yahusha said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect, because let's go back to 20. The question is asking. The young man said unto him, all these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack yet I yet? So the Messiah said, if thou wilt be perfect, okay, so if you want to be perfect, do this. Go and sell that thou hast and give to the poor, okay? Then thou shalt have treasure in heaven. So look at this now. This would be too easy still. So we know that it's still going to require the faith along with the work, because giving all those things would be like the work. Mm-hmm. But we see the Messiah saying, and come and follow me. So it is not done. You see that? Yep. It is not done. It is a continuation. So we see that one thing never works. It has to be hand in hand.
And that other thing that is there is picking up the stake.
Yes.
When you come and follow him, you're coming with all the problem.
Everything.
So you were living comfortably, and you now have to give up everything that you have. And not only that, you have to come and live a life of pain.
So you see, the Most High is just so awesome. The Most High set things up perfectly, because he knows that many people would not have this as a problem. They would do it. Mm-hmm. Because if you can exchange that which you have for a spot in the kingdom, okay, let's do it. But we're not willing to go through hardship. The faith part, we're not ready for that yet. So the Most High said, and come and follow me so I can teach you how to live.
Yep.
That is it.
Yep. And of course, the experiences are what actually teach us.
Teach us.
And we have John 15:4-10, which tells us about abiding in the Messiah. We have looked at this almost every day on here, but this is actually necessary as we follow the Messiah. Without abiding in him, we cannot have the faith of the Messiah. All right. John 15:4.
Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot be fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can he, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing.
And of course, we have to abide in him through faith. It is through believing in him that we abide in him, because in believing in him, we will walk as he walked. We will follow his instructions, follow his way. So this is actually a walk of faith, abiding in him. Continue.
If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burnt.
So here are some of the benefits of having faith, of abiding in the Messiah. Verse 7.
If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you.
This is faith. Ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. Tell this to the millions of Christians worldwide who are taking this mark of the beast injection. All right? They don't seem to see these verses. All right? Which is, of course, because they do not abide in the lawful Messiah. They abide in the Gentiles' false Messiah, called JC. Verse 8.
Herein is my Father glorified, that he bear much fruit, so shall he be my disciples.
All right. So if we abide in the Messiah, then we will bear much fruit. And then we will be his disciples. It's not easy to just get up and say, I'm a disciple, or I believe in JC, or I believe in Yahusha, and that's it. Okay? Verse 9.
As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love.
And if we have faith in the Messiah, of course, you will continue in his love. And verse 10 says,
if ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandment and abide in his love.
So when we have faith in the Messiah, we will follow him, walk as he walked, as it says in 1 John 2:6, and he walked in keeping his Father's commandments. All right? So we will walk in the Messiah's commands, and we will also walk in his Father's commandments. And hence we will abide in his love. That is the faith. And this, of course, this verse, John 15:10, this is the equivalent of Revelation 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahushua. Here we go. And the faith of Yahusha, keeping his commandments, of course, and abiding in his love. All right.
Can we look on also Revelation 3 and verse 20? I think it is very close, if not the very same thing.
Where?
Revelation 3 and 20.
Okay.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Is right?
Yeah.
Behold, if I stand at the door and knock, if any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him and he with me.
Yeah, so go ahead.
And 21 is also relevant. To him that overcometh. So that is us keeping his law all the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne.
All right. And you know, two things are going to make us overcome. It's keeping the Father's commands and the faith of the Messiah. It is faith that's going to allow us to quench the fiery darts of the wicked, as it says in Ephesians 6. Let's go there. Ephesians 6. Verse 16.
Above all, take ye the shield of faith, wherewith he shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
So it's the faith that builds us up and lets us be able to overcome the wickedness of the wicked. Okay? Now, if we are full of faith, we are going to be faithful. And we know that word faithful. It's a word that we would love everyone to be to us and with us. That word referring to people, it's like a breath of fresh air, as they say, when someone is faithful. So faithful. Faith comes from emun, and faithful is aman. It is properly to build up or support, figuratively to render or be firm or faithful, to trust or believe, to be permanent or quiet, morally to be true or certain. So, without going into the others, being faithful is being steadfast, it's being established, it's being firm in whatever you trust or believe in. So the person who is of faith is going to be faithful. So let's look a little at the faithfulness when it comes to Yahusha. The importance of faithfulness. Galatians 3:7-9. We're looking into the faith of Yahusha. All right, read please.
8 or 7.
7-9.
Know ye therefore that they which are of faith, the same are the children of Abraham.
All right, Abraham received this promise through faith. And those of us who also have faith in his seed, Yahushua Mashiach, also become people of faith. And it says the same are the children of Abraham. So we are the children of Abraham through faith. Verse 8.
And the scripture, foreseeing that Allah would justify the heathen through faith, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, in thee shall all nations be blessed.
So then
they which be of faith are blessed with faithful Abraham.
So when we are of faith, we are blessed with the man of faith, faithful Abraham. And of course, this is the gospel unto the Gentiles, to the strangers who have now access to the faith through Yahusha HaMashiach. Hebrews 3:1-2. Read, please.
Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of our profession, Mashiach Yahusha, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was faithful in all his house.
So our call is one of faithfulness, right? Which is why we have to go through the trials and the tribulations and the rough life that comes with the faith. We also have to be faithful because we are to walk as the Messiah walked. Ephesians 1:1, just showing us that we are to be people of faith. We are to be the faithful. Faithfulness is one of our callings that we have ignored so much. Verse 1.
Shaul, an apostle of Yahushua Mashiach, by the will of Allah, to the saints which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in Mashiach Yahusha.
The faithful in Yahusha HaMashiach. All right? The set apart saints are of faith. They believe in the impossible. They do not love their lives unto death. They have denied themselves. They live a life of no certain future, no predictable future. They just live and are taken and go wherever they are taken. These are the people who are of faith. All right, this is speaking about the beast now, the beast of 7 heads and 10 horns. Read, please.
These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Master of masters and Kings of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
So to be with the Messiah in the end, we have to be faithful. Faithful. And faithfulness, of course, comes with the fact that we stand fast to everything that the Messiah represents. We walk as the Messiah walked. We strive to be like him. We are willing to live what the world would call a low life. Be willing to be nothing as he was brought down to nothing. All right? He was a king, but made himself, as the word says, as a servant. Very important. All right. Proverbs 28:20, just showing about a few scriptures about the benefits of being faithful. Proverbs 28:20. Some little proverbs that show faithfulness and its impact. Verse 28:20.
A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent.
So from the Old Testament, faithful man shall abound with blessings. So a faithful man, why a faithful man will abound with blessings? But why he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent? Because a faithful man will have patience, right? When you are faithful and you stand fast to something, you do not watch everything else. So for example, we as believers here, we are faithful and standing fast in the way of the word. We do not watch the world as they go about gathering and having their earthly riches, as they go about taking their shots to go back to their normal, to go back to their gathering of materialism. We don't watch them. We take our time, and through faith, we patiently wait And so eventually we shall abound with blessings. Okay? A man that make haste to be rich shall not be innocent. That itself explanatory. If you make haste to be rich.
Want it right now.
Yeah, if you make haste to be rich, you're gonna step on some corns. You're gonna soil yourself. Psalm 31:23. Go ahead, please.
Oh, love Yahuwah, all he his saints. For Yahuwah preserveth the faithful, and plentiful rewarded the proud doer.
So Yahuwah preserveth the faithful. This is your Psalm 91 coverage. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He preserves those who are of faith. He preserves those who are steadfast, those who are loyal. He preserves the faithful, but plentifully rewarded the proud doer. The proud doer is going to get his peace, and it's not going to be nice. Okay? Importance of faith, of being faithful from in the Old Testament. Most of the things that we'll be looking at today will be New Testament. 14:15 or 11:13. Proverbs 14:15. No. Let me try 11:13. No, it's the wrong one. 11:13. Go ahead, please.
A talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is of a faithful spirit concealeth the matter.
All right. Talebearer does not have a faithful spirit. All right. The one who has a faithful spirit will keep the secret of those who entrusted them with the secret. 14:5, I think. Yes, 14:5. Verse 5.
A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies.
See? Those who are of faith will not lie. A true person of faith will not lie. Because regardless of the consequences, he is willing to face all. Remember, the person of faith will deny themselves.
Yep.
And they will be willing to pick up the stake and follow the Messiah. So they will be willing. And this is how you judge yourself when you are of faith. Simple recipe to judge yourself whether you are of faith or in faith is, will you try to protect yourself by even lying to protect yourself or concealing a matter to protect yourself because you're not willing to face the consequences that come?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And also, one of the reasons why we lie, and let me use lied, because we're not expecting any of us here to still be telling lies, no matter what. Definitely, the main one is self is not denied. If we found any more lies among us, self is not denied. And as a result of self not being denied, it shows that we fear the world. We fear the things of this world. Because when you lie, you are afraid of what might be done or what they might say about you. Be afraid of your boss to lose your job. Be afraid of the police. Be afraid. So therefore, to protect yourself again, you choose to lie. And lie is just 3 letters. But we know that the damage can be death. Because we see with Ananias, they lied, and as a result, he died. So let us hope that lying is no longer among us. Very, very important.
Yep. If you are of faith, you don't need to protect yourself. You have to be willing to suffer the consequences. Proverbs 11:13. Psalms 101, verse 6. Here we have David speaking. And we know when David spoke, at times it was prophecy, the Most High speaking through him. This is Psalm 101, verse 6. Read, please.
Mine eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He that walketh in a perfect way, he shall serve me.
My eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land. The Most High's eyes are upon the faithful. And it is the faithful that will dwell with him. That's why we can't enter into his kingdom without faith. The important thing of faith is the law. I'm going to look at it further down. The law. When we are called to the word, to the way, it is the same thing that Apostle Shaul had. When we are called to the way, we latch on to the law, thinking that the law justifies us. And we just concentrate on the law, the law, the law. And faith, mercy, truth, everything else takes a back burner. So in this awakening, children of Israel waking up to who they are, the dry bones waking up, the tendency is to go straight to the law and to ignore faith to our own detriment, because without faith, it is impossible to please Yahushua. He that walketh in a perfect way, he shall serve me. That's what the Most High is saying. And without faith, this is not possible. All right. Verse 1 is verse 7.
He that worketh deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that telleth lies shall not tarry in my sight.
And we know these come from people who are not of faith. Deceit and telling lies. All right. All right. So, of course, in our quest for faithfulness, we have a battle that we've looked at so many times before, the battle of the flesh and the ruach. That is the battle where faith triumphs over the flesh, because we know that we are spirits in flesh, and the flesh is always has an advantage because it rules from the get-go, because we have a sinful nature that is always drawing us to sin. Now, the only way to overcome that sinful nature is by faith in the Messiah. And some people will say by faith only. You can just say you believe. For example, the Old Testament only believers will say that they are also of faith, even though they don't believe in the Messiah. But that is not possible, because the faith of the Messiah is the total, what should I say? You know, when I have a medicine, what's it now? Aviva, when you have medicine and the antidote, yeah, it's a perfect antidote for the sinful nature. Because you just cannot say you have faith by reading the Torah and you have not read Matthew 5, 6, 7 to show you the way of the Spirit, to show you how you can overcome the flesh. When he says, love your enemies, says turn the other cheek, all of those things that, and they will argue with you that it is in Torah, right? But it's hidden in there. And most people will not see the spirit of the law without the Messiah showing us the spirit of the law. So Galatians 5, 16 to 18.
This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
It is walking in the spirit means walking in belief. Walking in belief, walking in faith. When you are walking in faith, not knowing what is coming next, walking outside of the realm of your body and the limitations of your body, then you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh, because you will not be paying attention to the flesh. You will not be caring about the flesh because you are preoccupied with spiritual things, with heavenly things. It is when you start paying attention to this body that you are in problems, because the flesh is going to try to will you to satisfy it. You go in the mirror and look in the mirror too often, your sinful nature is going to say, hey, your eyebrow is too thick. Shave it off. Your complexion is too dark. Lighten it. And then guess what? The wicked man provides everything, single thing that you need to alter your body. Yeah? So when you're walking in the Spirit, you don't care about that. Because for the flesh, continue.
For the flesh lusted against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that he cannot do the things that he would.
You see that? That battle, contrary the one to another. So the flesh is trying to dominate. And if you want to feel the effect of the flesh dominating, stop reading the word for a few days. And you see something. Your flesh start kicking up. You start paying attention to fleshly things because the spirit is not being fed. All right? Mm-hmm. But if he be led of the spirit, ye are not under the law. When you are led of the spirit, you will be walking in the righteousness of the law. You will not be under the power of sin, which the law shows us. Okay? And so, we are sanctified by faith that is in the Messiah. Because we have a battle of the flesh and spirit, we need to be sanctified by faith. Because remember, that which is flesh, and we must be born of the spirit, right? Mm-hmm. So when we are born of the spirit, we are sanctified by faith, and that is what makes us born of the spirit. Read, please.
To open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto allure, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me.
This was addressed to the Apostle Shaul. The Messiah was telling him why he was called to go to his people and to the Gentiles, to open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light and from the power of Satan unto allure, and receive forgiveness of sins. There's so many things faith can do, and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. So let's see what we get from faith that is in the Messiah. We are turned from darkness to light. We are turned from the power of Satan unto the Most High. We receive forgiveness of sins and receive an inheritance among those who are also sanctified as we are. That's how powerful faith is.
Yep.
Yeah? And that faith now is the manifestation of the new covenant. That's why we say our faith is different from the faith of the Christians, because in the new covenant, the faith that is in the Messiah brings conversion and circumcision of the heart and brings us to keep the statutes, the judgments, and the ordinances of the Most High. Very important. And we have always looked at that. Jeremiah 31:31. We looked at that this the last time, but we need to look at it again as it is very fitting here. Jeremiah 31:31. The Christian faith is you just believe in JC. Boom, that's it. Or some of them might say, okay, you go and keep the 10 commandments. That's like SDA. You keep the 10 commandments, but that's it. But as we said before, the statutes, the ordinances, and the judgments, they are in the law of Moses. So the 10 commandments is not it. The 10 commandments are a part of it, but not it. It's the 10 commandments are the broad headings. You have to keep the statutes and the judgments. Read, please.
Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, said Yahuwah. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, said Yahuwah, I will put my law in their inward parts and write in it their hearts, and will be their Alua, and they shall be my people.
All right, so here's the difference with our faith and that of Christians. Christians' faith is a faith without works. Okay? But with us, he will put the law in our inward parts and write it in our hearts so that we will walk in obedience to his commandments, as it says here in Ezekiel 36. Ezekiel 36:25. Read from 24.
24. For I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land.
This has not yet happened. This is what we're preparing for. Verse 25.
Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you.
Continue.
A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh.
This is sanctification through faith. Sanctified by faith that is in me. That's the Messiah was speaking about. All right? Sanctified, cleanse. Here, 25. I will sprinkle clean water. This is cleansing, sanctifying by the Ruach. All right? And then 27 says, the result of it will be?
And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgment and do them.
So this is the difference between our belief and that of Christianity. Christianity's faith has nothing to do with the law. Our faith will cause us, and he caused it all. This is what the wicked are doing, causing us. The Messiah said it's the spirit that will cause you. And what does it mean? The Ruach will lead you to walk in his statutes. This is it. It's not compelling you, it's causing you.
So it will cause you, like lead you. So if you don't follow the leader, what does that mean?
You're on the wrong path.
That is it. So you still have a choice to do whatever you want to do, but just know that you will not make it in the kingdom if you choose to go your way. So it will cause you. So the same thing we're seeing in the world today. They cause it all.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even say you have to right now. Come on, it is mandated. But they said, but if you want to work with us, hey, come and get this thing here. So they cause you, and you choose to go after their poison.
Now what does the word say? Satan wants to be like
the Most High.
Oh.
So the Most High calls you. He also will cause you to bow to their, you know what?
And look back on this verse. See, it doesn't have to do with this mark of the beast injection. I will put my spirit within you.
Mm-hmm.
I will put my spirit. And how do you put that spirit in us? Witchcraft.
Yeah.
The witchcraft. The witchcraft that they have upon this world. That's how they compel people, wearing up the mask and the social distance and everything. By the time they're finished with people, the people don't even realize that they have been bewitched.
So the Most High is the one who will put his spirit in us and cause us to walk in his statutes. And Satan is saying want to be like the Most High, so he's going to do his carbon copy thing now. I will put my joke within you. That joke will cause you to walk after the things of the world.
Walk in his statutes. Remember that joke?
Yes.
Contains a measure of control and manipulation.
The Most High says, and he shall keep my judgment and do them. Hey, you shall live as you like, no matter what.
No, you shall live as we want you
as
to
you,
live.
Exactly, they will control you.
Yeah.
So it is really showing up what the devil is doing.
So it's right, the direct opposite. Verse 28 says,
and he shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and he shall be my people, and I will be your allure.
So it's the opposite. It's those who walk in the ruach. So what we have here in the world is a dividing line being drawn between those who want to walk in the spirit of the devil versus those who want to walk in the spirit of the Most High.
And we see the same thing happen in heaven when Satan was able to get a few angels to come on his team.
A whole lot of angels, a third.
And we see what happened. The very same thing.
Yeah. I will be like the Most High. Romans 2:28-29. Showing that our faith, this faith is different from what we were taught in Christianity.
Before we go to verse 28, while I look for it, family or others out there in the YouTube land, it is basically seek to live a life the opposite of this world. Because we know that Satan is a deceiver. And he said in Isaiah 14, somewhere there, I think it's 12 down to 14, you want to be like the Most High. So if you want to be like the Most High, what the Most High said for us to do, the devil will carbon copy and have his own agenda for us to follow. So if we live our life the opposite of this world, then the enemy, the devil, Satan, will not use us as he will. So it's very important to understand that part. Seek to live the opposite of what these people, these wicked people are doing in the world today. 28.
Yeah, I remember Satan uses Babylon to lure us. So
yes,
if we're living the opposite of Babylon, or if we take ourselves away from Babylon, then we will be taken out of the power of the wicked one.
That is the next thing.
Yeah.
Because they set up their agenda and they are expecting all to come and be a part of their agenda. If we are still going to be looking from them for stuff, if we are going to be depending on them, expecting from them, that is simply saying we are still of the world. Am I right? Yeah. Because right here, we have to be honest with ourselves. Yes, we are still of the world right here now. We are still of the world because we are still depending on this world for their gas, their phone, their light, and all those things. So we are making preparation to take ourselves from the midst of this wickedness. And any one of us are still paying water rate, light bill, going to the market. After a time from now, it is a clear sign that you are still in the midst of Babylon. 28. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh.
All right, this is the difference between circumcision of the heart and circumcision of the flesh. Just as the flesh and the spirit are battling, the reason the Apostle Shaul spoke so much about circumcision because it was a sign of the seal of the flesh. And he was saying that with our new covenant, the circumcision is now of the heart. Through faith, we are sanctified through faith. Verse 29.
But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of Allah. So
the letter is the flesh, and the heart is the ruach, or the spirit. So the difference here when it comes to what we learned in Christianity is that circumcision of the heart will lead us in the spirit to keep the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. So in Christianity, their circumcision of the heart in the spirit is one that leads them to do whatever their mind tells them. Each man does what is right in his own eyes. So that is why now they will say that I believe, but I believe. No reference to scripture. I believe. But our belief is that leads us in obedience to the spirit of the law.
That's it.
All right. So where are we?
That's it, 29.
All right. So as such, as we looked at earlier, the just shall live by his faith. The just shall live by his faith. Very important.
Yeah, not your faith.
Not another person's faith, or not by our works. It is by our faith. It's by our belief. So those who are just, as we said before, will be moving from faith to faith. That is his life. Faith is his life. Belief in the impossible is his life. Belief in what you cannot prove. Belief in what another man says, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Or no, you cannot do that. Okay? The just will live by his faith. I believe that the Most High can do this. I believe that the Spirit of the Messiah will lead me to do this. The just shall live by his faith. Read it, please.
Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith.
So the soul which is lifted up, that is the proud. Notice, it's the second time here we are seeing the pride being the opposite of faith. Because those who are of faith will be humble. Because it takes humility to ignore the things of the world and to be looking forward to things that other people would say is impossible. It takes humility. All right? So, the righteous move from faith to faith. And just looking at, before we do that, okay, I see where this is coming from. I'll deal with those in the top left soon. Romans 1:17.
For there is the righteousness of Allah revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith.
I want us to understand this very carefully. The righteousness of Allah is revealed from faith
to faith.
The righteousness of Allah in us is revealed when we live a life that moves from one faith to the other. Not just one isolated act of faith when something comes upon you and you say, I believe. No, it is moving from faith to faith. It's a whole life dedicated to faith. And for that whole life to be dedicated to faith, the old traditional life that we had has to be thrown away. That old comfort zone that we were in, those comfortable things that we liked. Yes, I don't like this. I don't do this. I never this. I don't this. I. All of that has to be thrown out because we now live a life from faith to faith, from believing on the impossible to believing in our next impossible to believing in our next impossible, our next impossible.
That's it to the end.
And that is why it says the just shall live by faith, from faith to faith. So we cannot be justified. We cannot be righteous unless we have abandoned the old life. That's why I say that any man being Messiah, he's a new, brand new. All things are passed away, behold, all things are become new. And that person now becomes kind of a thrill seeker, sort of a thrill seeker. Yeah? Life becomes an adventure because you never know what's going to happen next. And you are willing, whatever happens next, to be there just the same, never giving up, going through. That's the life of faith, from faith to faith. Now, people, if we are not living here, if this is not our life, that means we are not ready. All right? Okay. So, faith in the Most High's provision. I was saying earlier, we have faith when we go certain places and we see a bench or something and we sit on it. But when it comes to the Most High assuring us of his provision, we cannot show that faith. So let's look at faith in the Most High's provision. What's this doing here? Is this right? Can't be so many of them. Oh, we did this before. Faith in the Most High's provision. Which verse was this again? Let me see if I can find it. If you want to say something in the meantime.
Yes, indeed. Faith is very, very important. I'm sitting here and I'm talking, and it's like I'm just in the spirit seeing the importance of this faith that we're talking about. Because there is no other way to it. There is no joke. It is either we're going to live by faith or nothing. That is the whole matter here. We have to look within ourselves to see where we're at today. Where are we spiritually? Who do we put our trust in? And even if we say, no, we don't put our trust in the world, we have to understand that action is what really speaks. So if we are saying we don't put our trust in the world, but we are putting our trust in the world by expecting from the world, action speaks. And it is saying that we are not in the right place, because at this time, especially, we should be looking out, expecting a better place from this world. We have to love being strangers, because if the things of this world, we are not of it, of course we're going to feel like strangers. We're going to see everyone else doing all these things, and we just choose not to because we are strangers. You find it?
Yeah. We are called to be a peculiar people, right? Don't forget, peculiar, which means when you're called out. And Israel, of course, is set apart. We are peculiar. When we are called out, we are going to be doing everything different from everyone else. Mm-hmm. People are going to be ridiculing us, mocking us as they did the early believers. And they're going to be, why do you have to live like that? Why? Because it is the will of the Most High that we suffer for the kingdom, because the kingdom is so splendid, so exalted. The Most High has set the bar that only those who really ignore, give up on this world will inherit his kingdom. That's just the way it is, all right? So it is a righteous thing for the Most High. It is righteous for us. Matthew 6:25, the way that we should be living as believers. Do we live this way? And then we're going to relate this. Just while you're reading this, think about those people who are saying they have to do this and they have to do that. They have to take this thing. They have to take this thing. And they are blaspheming the Most High's name, saying that they are believers. Read, please.
Therefore, I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than the meat, and the body than raiment? Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are you not much better than they?
So these people are asking, I have to work, I have to do. Where am I going to get money from? Are you going to feed me and my kids? Yeah? It says, are you not much better than they? Remember, who was it? Benaiah and myself were looking at we're speaking about the food chain and saying the Most High provides a way to feed all of the animals in the food chain, from the insect or right up, right? Everybody gets fed. And yet man, who he has made after his own image, we just cannot believe in the Father to provide for us.
And with that, we are seeing we definitely have to become nothing, bringing ourselves down, just like those birds, the ants, and all those things. You don't see them being puffed up.
No.
They are so just down, deny themselves, and they get fed.
Yeah. And this is faith. We are better than them. Why are we worrying? Verse 27.
Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature?
So the worrying that we are worrying about these things, it can't do us anything positive.
So why worry?
You can't change anything. What he's actually saying here, it is the Most High that does everything. You cannot do anything but worry. Verse 28.
And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, they toil not, neither do they spin.
They do nothing, but it's just because of the mercies of the Most High. Verse 29.
And yet I say unto you, that even Solomon in all his splendor was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if all of us so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith?
Say this again.
O ye of little faith.
So those of us who are worrying about food and raiment and house and all of that, O ye of little faith, the Most High will provide. Verse 31.
Therefore, take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed?
So the man of faith, this is his life. This is his life. Not worrying about what shall eat or what shall drink or what he shall be clothed. Verse 32.
For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that he have need of all these things.
All right, let me ask you a question. Who gave us Christianity?
Gentile them.
The Gentiles. So is it any marvel, any wonder why their religion is based on seeking after these things?
Exactly. Yep.
That's the connection. So Christianity seeks after all the things that the Gentiles seek after. Clothing. Remember going to Pentecostal church, it was like on a Sunday, it was like a
fashion show.
Fashion show.
Just down there.
One of the girls told me once, I asked them why they dress like that. She says, God wants you to look good.
On the outside.
Yeah, God wants you to look good. So this is the programming of the Gentiles. All right? Verse 33.
Well, before I go to verse 33, it is so true. I had experience similar in the church I used to attend. Some Sunday, I think it was 8th or 4th Sunday, but some Sundays they would call it dress down Sunday. That day you wear whatever you want to wear. Jeans, this, that. Dress down Sunday. Gentiles.
Yeah, man.
Babylon system.
We have a Gentiles.
So the scripture warned against a certain dressing, and the church pastor is saying, dress as you are on this Sunday. Come in whatever you want to come in. The total opposite of what the Most High is saying to us.
Gentile religion, man.
33?
Yeah.
But seek ye first the kingdom of Allah and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
And we know we achieve his righteousness through what?
Faith.
All right. Verse 34.
Take therefore no thought for tomorrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
In other words, you have enough problem today. What are you going to worry about tomorrow's problem? Yeah? The Most High will provide. So the righteous will live from faith to faith. So today's faith takes me through today. Tomorrow's faith takes me through tomorrow. So it is faith for me to believe today, he will provide today. And tomorrow, the same thing comes. No matter how difficult it looks, we have to know and believe that he will provide. Simple.
Yep.
All right? So, the world has faith in that word that cannot be said because it will get us in trouble. What a day, an age we live in when you cannot call a word. Unless you are praising that word. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, you could call it.
Yeah, man, I could call it. I could say it a million times if I was encouraging people to take it.
Yes, you could call it.
Yeah.
And people don't even look on these things. What a world.
What a world.
Do as I say.
Exactly. And you're not seeing something wrong with this V word up here?
Say what I want you all to say. Otherwise, I cut you off.
Yep. So reading what we just read a while ago, and we hear the concerns coming from these people to this thing. I have to travel. I have to eat. I have to work. I have to feed my children. How will I send my children to school? How will I operate my business? I. All I. These people are telling you that they are of faith. If you are of faith, faith without works is dead. And your works is that you are going to be willing to give up on all of these things and depend now on the Most High to provide for you as he provides for the lilies and the sparrows and the birds and the bees, etc. Yeah, you were saying something?
No, I was saying pure I know faith. So you see, one and cannot clap. Pure I know faith.
Yeah, yes. Pure, that's I. Everything is in me. So that means there's no faith whatsoever. And yet still these people will tell you, I believe in JC, I believe in this, I believe in that, whomever they call him. Where is your faith? Your faith without your works is dead. You can't tell me that you believe and you don't believe enough to act or to give up or to be willing to suffer. That doesn't add up. And that's why it says in Hebrews 11 verse 6, but without faith,
it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to allure must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
So those up here, it is impossible for them to please him. That's why they have taken the mark of the beast, because they have no faith. And whatsoever is not of faith is sin. Go ahead, please.
And he that doubted is damned, if he eat because he eateth not of faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin.
Yep, this is the point. Whatsoever is not of faith is sin. So if you do something and you are doubting, all right, whatever you do, you should have no doubt. Whatever is not of faith is sin. Now, without faith, an entire nation went into sin. The entire nation of Israel, whenever they have lacked faith, and lacking faith, of course, is directly related to materialism. Whenever we get material, we start depending on the things that we can see, and that reduces our ability to depend on the things that we can't see. So we have the money to buy whatever our hearts desire. No, we do not have to believe in the Most High to provide for us. We ourselves now can do everything. And this is one of the problems with most of us today, especially in Christianity, who go after the world and have been in this world, and they have provided for themselves for a while, and they have been able through their efforts to do certain things. Then now when it comes to time for faith, they have gotten so used to providing for themselves and doing everything for themselves, they do not even remember what it means like to depend on the Most High. Yeah? So, without faith, Israel goes into sin at all times and are punished. Deuteronomy 32, 8-22. A nation lacking faith. Deuteronomy 22, I said? 8. 32. All right. So the Most High chose a nation for himself, a special nation for himself, the nation of Yahusha. Verse 8, read from verse 8.
When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For Yahuwah's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
So Jacob was chosen. Jacob is the entirety of his inheritance. He has no inheritance in any other nation. One nation is his people, is his family that he chose. And let's see what happens to them when they lack faith. Verse 10.
He found him in a desert land, and in the waste, howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirred up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings. So Yahuwah alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the field, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rocks, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and rams of the bread of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape.
All right. So this is when the Most High is leading his people. He gives them everything that is good. Everything that is good. But, verse 15.
But Israel waxed fat.
Jeshurun.
But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat. Thou art grown thick. Thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Aloha, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation.
All right, so I want to see the point here. The point here, Israel, Yashurun, got fat because they were so well provided for in the flesh. And when they are so well provided for in the flesh, the faith goes out through the door. And when the faith goes out through the door, you are going to forsake Yahuwah. That is why we are people of faith. And that is why the Most High brings us down. That is why our calling in the new covenant is one that brings us down to the ground. We are only going to be lifted up now after we have overcome and we have proven to ourselves and the Most High that we are humble enough and willing to forsake everything to be in his kingdom. Then only will he lift us up. So when we get fat, we're going to forsake Yahuwah. We're going to forget everything about faith. And then what happens when you forget about faith? Verse 16.
They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger.
Let me tell you something about the human nature. When we start getting material, there's no end to our materialism. And we can see that today with this B. Gates fellow. That person. These people are billionaires. They can't spend their money. But guess what? Sin stirred up in them. They become so restless, they cannot be satisfied. Yeah? And that's what happened to Israel. Because they cannot be satisfied, they forsook Yahuwah and continued to go after the flesh. And idolatry, of course, is the result of going after things of the flesh. The more we go after things of the flesh, the more things will become idols to us. It might not be a literal statue that you bow down to, but it might be something, a house, a car, a child, whatever. Whatever it is, video games, all sort of things that people are addicted to. These things become their idols. Verse 17.
They sacrificed unto devils, not to Aloha, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not.
This is what happened without faith. Verse 18.
Of the rock that begot thee, thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten Aloha that formed thee. And when Yahuwah saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters.
You see the result of not having faith? Yeah, Satan has taken us to wrap you up. Simple, easy pickings. Verse 20.
And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith.
Say it again.
Children in whom is no faith.
So you see what happens when there is no faith. You see? When we are so connected to the tangible things that we can see. That is why when we come to the Most High breaks us down. A lot of us who come to the Most High, we might see our lives going down, and there's nothing that we can do in this world that seems to be going right. And no matter how we strive to conquer this world, we cannot conquer it because the Most High is faithful to us. And he is compassionate to us so much that he is bringing us down where we can now live from faith to faith. Because only by living faith to faith can we be his children.
Yes. And small side note here. Some of us may think that because we are not 2, 3, 4, and 5, we are not children. But even as adults, you say, we are still children. Children in whom is no faith. Who do we think he's talking to? Us. He's not a 2-year-old, 3-year-old.
Yeah. So those of us who are proud adults, we have to be humble children before the Most High and before his congregation. Verse 21.
They have moved me to jealousy with that which is no God, no Allah. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy. With those which are not a people, I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
See, people who are not of faith are attached to vanities. And vanities are attached to sin. Because when you start go a whoring after vanities, then you will not love your neighbor. You cannot love your neighbor as yourself. You will be greedy. You will be covetous. You will be idolatrous. You will be everything that is negative, just to go after your vanity. Verse 22.
For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains.
See how the Most High takes it seriously. 36 to 38 now.
For Yahushua shall judge his people, and repent himself for his servants, when he seeth that their power is gone, and there is none shut up or left.
You see? When there is no faith, eventually everything leaves us. Everything, and we just keep going after this world. Yeah? But because even now in this time when we are saying fleeing from the midst of Babylon, we still see people going after this world. It is, I mean, I say people, I mean believers who say they are fleeing from Babylon. Verse 37.
And he shall say, where are their gods? Their rock is whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offering. Let them rise up and help. Let them rise up and help you and be your protection.
So without faith, eventually the Most High is going to just leave you to the idols. Say, all right. Yeah, man. Go back to your idols and your idolatry. Yeah, man. Again, we stress that the idols do not have to be these tangible idols that you bow down to. All right? All right. Example of great faith. Let me see how we're doing time. Oh, we're doing good time. Example of great faith. Matthew 8 to 13. Just showing an example of great faith, how simple it is to really have great faith. This was a Gentile. Yeah? Gentiles do not usually have faith. The Gentiles usually go after their material things. But verse 8, read from verse 8.
The centurion answered and said, Master, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed.
This was a centurion beckoning to the Most High, beckoning to the Messiah, to heal his servant. And the Messiah was going to come there. The centurion says, I'm not worthy. That is humility, denial of self. All right? He's a centurion. He was comfortable in those days in the Roman occupation of Yahuda, of Judah. And he says he's not worthy. Yeah? Humility, that's humility, because the Messiah should be the servant of the Romans, and yet still he's humbling himself under the servant. All right? Verse 9.
For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goeth. And to another, come, and he cometh. And to my servant, do this, and he doeth it.
Continue.
When Yahusha heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel.
And some people might look at this and say, this is a simple thing. The Messiah says, no, such great faith, not in Israel. Yeah, Because Israel, of course, was programmed at that time towards the law covenant. And so they had gotten to the point, being led by the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the corrupt Pharisees and Sadducees, they were just being led towards the letter, according to the letter of the law. Just following the law just for the sake of following it, not really following it with a converted heart. All right? But the consequence of this, when there's no faith in Israel, is that those who show the faith from outside, the Gentiles, they are going to come into the kingdom, and the Israelites will not enter the kingdom if they don't have faith. Verse 11.
And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Yahusha said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the self same hour.
So that's it with faith. That's the power of faith. And remember, we said earlier about faith that if we abide in him, we will ask, and whatever we ask, he will grant it unto us. It's the same thing.
So go ahead. If you
so
finish.
faith comes with rewards. That's the thing. Faith comes with things that we believe in actually happening. Go ahead.
Very important that we understand verse 13 when we put this against church and otherwise. And Yahusha said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the self same hour. What did the Messiah do? Did he pray for him? Did he give him any concussion? We didn't see where he even called on Yahuwah. His faith is what healed him. Am I right?
Yeah.
So when I use the example of the pipe always have water in it. If you go and turn the pipe top, here comes the water. So with us, that is our faith to believe in Yahuwah with all our heart. That is what will bring forth our healing. And people are here going taking jobs and all those things. We see what the Messiah did. If we are following the lawful Messiah, we will not take any job. So the problem is many of us are not following the lawful Messiah. Period. That is it. Very, very clear right there. Because the man believed so much. Because he believed. He said, I am in charge here. If I say, bungalow, go so, he go there. John Brown, come here, he come. He says, so if I believe if you say the word or something, it can happen. Because he will see himself lower than the Messiah. And if these things can happen on his part, how much more the Messiah? You see that?
Yep. And it's just like this sickness that you're going. When you go out on the road, it's everybody in mask and everybody scared. Yes? Somebody asked me once if I'm not scared of this thing. I said, no, I'm not scared. It's not that. I'm not going to say I can't catch it, but I trust in the Most High to protect me. And if he allows me to get it, he will find a way for me to overcome it. That's just it. And if I do not overcome it, it is his will that now that I be taken, and that's it.
Because there will have to be something to overcome. You see that?
Yeah. So why walk around running scared of this thing when the Most High promised that if you dwell in a secret place, he will take care of you? It just doesn't add up. All right, mustard seed faith, prayer and fasting. So we know he said we just look at great faith. So we have to look at what the Messiah calls now mustard seed faith. It's Matthew 17:14-21. Read, please.
And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man kneeling down to him and saying, Master, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed, for oftentimes he falleth into the fire, and often into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Yahusha answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me.
All right, you notice how the Messiah spoke here?
Yes.
If you were a leader of people today now and you say this regarding to people, man, what?
Talk to me like that.
Yeah, man. But this is how the Messiah, there are times when you speak gently to people. That's how you're going to emphasize. But there are times when it's going to come hard.
Can I say it again?
Yeah.
Then Yahusha answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me.
Yeah.
And people will look at it like he disrespect me.
Yeah, man. And he's showing off.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the word perverse, it means to distort, that is misinterpret or morally corrupt. So he's actually calling his disciples morally corrupt. Can you imagine that? Wow. Verse 18.
And Yahusha rebuked the devil and departed out of him. And he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour.
Verse 19.
Then came the disciple unto Yahusha apart and said, Why could not we cast him out?
All right. So the disciples came to him. Did they come quarreling?
Mm-mm.
Are they coming to a meeting and complaining about how he spoke to them?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
No.
They come to ask questions because they want to learn.
Yeah, they wanted.
And to see where they gone wrong.
Exactly. Verse 20.
And Yahusha said unto them, Because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting.
Right. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. There are some things only prayer and fasting will give you the amount of faith to do. All right. And remember, again, we said that faith is believing in the Most High to be taking care of everything. And our faith is that belief that we are called by the Most High, that whatever happens to us is as a result of the doing of the Most High. And we look to Job or Job, when Satan went to Job, went to the Most High, he had to ask permission for Job, because he said he had put a barrier around him, of protection around him. And that's what the Most High does with us. So if we get in any trouble or anything that is going to make us miserable or whatever, it is because of the doing of the Most High. And we know through faith, that faith is going to make us say, you know what? It is the Most High's will, and whatever it is, he will take us out of it. So a true believer is not miserable, does not complain about everything, and will not try to calculate everything and sort out everything and plan everything. And a true believer is one who just believes in the leading of the Ruach from the Most High.
Very important that you break it down like that, because the only other reason would be disbelief. When people murmur when things are done or when things are happening, if they really believe it is the will of the Most High, then they would not murmur.
That's it.
That's it.
And that's faith.
Mm-hmm.
That is faith, believing in the impossible. You can't understand it, you can't calculate it, but I believe in you, Most High. I believe in you, Messiah, to be leading me in the right path. Okay? That's that. So, faith now and the forgiveness of sins, because it is through faith that our sins are forgiven. Matthew 9, 1-7. Matthew 9, 1-7. Read, please.
And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Yahusha, seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee.
Why did he say, be of good cheer, thy sins are forgiven thee?
Because you see their faith?
Because he saw them, their faith. And that faith, of course, is the works. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
It is the works that they did
Brought him.
by bringing him the man lying on a bed. That makes the Messiah say, wow, you really, really do believe. And notice, because of their faith, their sins were forgiven. Because the wages of sin is death, and sin leads us to sickness and into death. So when our sins are forgiven us, it also heals our physical bodies. So living a life of faith, this is so, it's a no-brainer.
Yes, man.
Living a life of faith, you are preserving your life. That's why you live longer.
But you see, what is also coming out, what is required is the faith as small as mustard seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The faith is really there. People have faith, but faith towards who or what? Because they will go to the doctor feeling so sick.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, get me a taxi. I have to go see Dr. John Brown or so and so over there. And sometimes, brother, see, they go to the doctor and they wait in that line for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they wait because they believe so much in that doctor to heal them. Many times, they didn't even fill the prescription. They feel much better because of their faith.
Mm-hmm.
But see, they're having faith in the world system, in man.
Mm-hmm.
So it is all over that it is our faith that will heal us. Our faith will take us from death to life. Very, very important.
James 5:13. Read, please.
Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the assembly and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the master. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick.
Hey.
The prayer of faith shall save the sick. And Yahushua shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him.
You see the connection again?
Yep.
Between faith and the forgiveness of sins and the sickness. So it's a direct correlation between sickness, sins, and the forgiveness of sins and faith. Faith is the key that unlocks our health, and it unlocks the forgiveness of sins. Yeah.
Because the Most High did not make us sick. We inherit these things. It's a reason why we were sick, and a big part of it is disobedient. So if we're going to talk about faith, it is because we are now transitioning from disobedient to obeying the Most High. So now faith is active in our life, and there comes our healing.
That's it. Faith and the forgiveness of sins. Acts 26:17. So you see, people, when we say and we encourage faith, we encourage the madness of faith, which is madness to the modern world. It has long life, the benefit of a long life. We did this before. Inheritance, forgiveness of sins, and inheritance among them that are sanctified by faith. So here we have forgiveness of sins, again, being directly correlated to faith, right? Romans 3:25-26. We just want to emphasize this so we don't get it. We don't forget it. Verse 24.
Being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in a Mashiach, Yahusha, whom Allah had set forth to be a propitiation through faith in his blood, to declare his righteousness for the remission of sin that are past, through the forbearance of Allah.
All right. So a propitiation there means an atonement through faith in his blood, to declare the righteousness, his righteousness for the remission of sins. So faith remits sins, takes away sins from us, the burden of sin. All right? So it justifies us before the Most High when we look to him and say we believe on him whom we have not seen. Luke 5:18-20. Lucas 5:18-20. Read, please.
And behold, men brought in a bed a man which was taken with a palsy, and they sought means to bring him in and to lay him before him.
Oh, I think it's a similar account to the one before.
Yeah.
Verse 20, yeah. And
Verse
he
20.
saw their faith and said unto him, man, thy sins. Yeah, that's the same one. All right. So, all right. So we were seeing that faith, and we were hinting about this faith without works is dead. Now, the Apostle Shaul, here's a disparity with it, because the Apostle Shaul kind of made us believe, when he was talking about faith, made us believe that it was just faith alone. What the Apostle Shaul was trying to say is that faith and working the law together is not what is required. It is faith and faith alone that justifies you, and then that faith alone will lead you to do that which is right, good works. But Shaul, as usual, his teachings are so hard for us to understand. Romans 4. Read, please.
What shall we say then that Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, had found? For if Abraham was justified by works, he had whereof to splendor, but not before Allah.
All right, so here's the thing, justified by works versus justified by faith. What he was saying is that Abraham was not justified by what he did, but by the faith that led him to do what he did. Mm-hmm. But he didn't express it that way. He expressed he was just solely on the works and the faith. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see Jacob or James qualifying it for us. Verse 3.
For what said the scripture? Abraham believed Allah, and it was counted unto him for righteousness.
So our faith is counted for righteousness. Very important. Verse 4.
Now to him that worketh in the reward, not reckoned of grace, but of debt.
So when you work for something, it is not through favor that you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid because I owe you your wages. Yeah. Verse 5.
But to him that worketh not, but believe on him that justified the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness.
All right. See what he's explaining here? Those who don't work to be justified. So we don't do this to be justified, but we believe on him that justifies us. Believe on the Messiah who justifies us. The Most High counts our faith for righteousness, just as Abraham believed, and the Most High counted it for righteousness. Verse 6.
Even as David also described the blessedness of the man, unto whom Allah imputed righteousness without works, saying, blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man whom Yahuwah will not impute sin.
And the man to whom Yahuwah will not impute sin, and whose iniquities are forgiven, are those who are of faith. Remember, we just looked at faith and the forgiveness of sins. Mm-hmm. All right, so it is faith that is going to cause this. The Most High is not going to just get up and just justify someone and say your iniquities are forgiven. No, that person has to have faith, and it is that faith that will remove the iniquities. Verse 9.
Comment this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also. For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness.
All right, so Shaul was making a case here for those outside the circumcision, those Israelites who were not circumcised, and those Gentiles who are not Israelites who have the faith of Yahusha, who believe in Yahusha and follow Yahusha. He was saying that it is through faith that they are justified and not by works, because if it is only by works, then it will be only those who are of the law who would have access unto salvation.
Yeah.
Verse 10.
How was it then reckoned? When he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision.
So remember, Abraham was justified through faith when he was willing to give up Yitzhak or Isaac as a sacrifice unto Allah. That justified him before he was circumcised. And it was as a result of being justified, then the Most High sealed the covenant. Because faith, the covenant began with faith, and then sealed the covenant physically through circumcision. Likewise, it's the same thing with our covenant. Our covenant begins with faith in Yahusha. That's where it begins. Not of works. We can't work ourselves in or buy our way in. We have to believe as Abraham did. Yeah?
Yeah. So it is pretty close to love. If you love, all the commandments hang on love.
Yeah.
So if you are that faithful to want to give up your son,
yeah,
that is the heading of everything else.
Because you're willing to go thus far.
Thus far.
And if you go thus far, everything else is possible.
That is it.
So at times the Most High takes us and gives us ultimate tests to see where or how far we will go. And then he knows that, all right, you have proven to yourself, because he knows us and he knows our hearts. He knows what we are capable of. But we have to literally do it to prove to ourselves and to actually have it manifest that you actually have that faith in him.
That's it.
Verse 11.
And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith which he had yet been uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe, though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also.
All right. So just as the time of offering up of Isaac, that's where the true people of faith are. Verse 12.
And the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision only, but who also walked in the steps of that faith of our father Abraham, which he had been yet uncircumcised.
All right. So the same thing that he's saying over and over in different ways. All right. But people hear this, and the Christians hear this and they say, yay, we are not justified by works. We are justified by faith and faith only. But the Most High showed us how to understand the scripture. He said precept must be upon precept. So when you have conflicting verses, then you have to resolve it using precept upon precept. So when we see that with Shaul saying that, it sounds really strange. Are you telling me that I am just to believe in my mind just like that, and that's it? It doesn't actually sound too good at all. Read verse 14. So this is going to be the rationalizer with Shaul.
What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him?
Can faith save him alone? Christians, you need to ask yourselves that question. And to answer that question, Revelation 14:12. Not faith alone. Verse 12.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Allah.
Works.
Commandments of Allah and the faith of Yahusha.
Faith alone cannot do it. Faith alone cannot save us. It's the faith of Yahusha and keeping the commandments of Allah. So let's go back to Jacob. Continue now.
What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he had faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding he give them not those things which are needful to the body, what does it profit?
All right. So if you see a brother or sister who is struggling and you don't reach out to help them, what good is that to them? Because you're going to say, oh, the Most High help you and the Most High will bless you. And you are able to bless them and you do not. So that shows that that faith that you say you have or think you have will not be able to help you. Verse 17.
Even so, faith, if it had not work, is dead being alone.
Dead being alone. So if you believe something, then you have to act on that belief. You cannot sit in your mind and say, okay, I believe this. Yeah? You have to carry out that faith. Just like we were talking about with this thing that they're putting in their arm. These people sit down and say, oh, it's faith. We have faith. And then they go and sit in that chair and take that abominable injection in their arms. No works.
No works.
Your works in that case would be your willingness to lose your job, your willingness to lose everything rather than to give in to this wickedness. Continue.
Before I go down to that one, what I just saw show up with this verse we just read is Christianity, church pastors.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes a sister or a brother will be in need. What they do, they call and pray for them. They pray for them and say, God will see you through. God will bless you. Just go believing.
Mm-hmm.
Even after they collect hundreds for an offering and tithe, there's one sister or brother among you saying, I'm hungry, I can't pay my rent. You're going to pray for them. This is what the scripture is saying. Don't do that. Do something physical.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Verse 18.
Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Shew me thy faith without thy works, and I will shew thee my faith by my works.
See that? Show me the faith without works.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have faith without works, it's not going to be manifest.
He did.
You're just in there in your thoughts. But Jacob said, I will show thee my faith by my works. I will show you my faith by what I do.
So, yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have work. Show me thy faith without thy work. So it is like a brilliant idea in your head. You have this business idea, and all you can see are every time it is right in your head, nothing happened. All next year, nothing happened because all you have is faith. That's it.
Yep. I knew a friend like that once. Always had brilliant ideas about things and he never executed one. Never. Oh boy. Yeah, go ahead. Thou believest?
Thou believest that there is one Allah. Thou doest well. The devil also believe and tremble.
There, look at that.
Just to believe is not enough.
You see?
The devil believe that too.
Yeah.
And he tremble.
You believe that there is one Allah. The devil also believe and tremble. But guess what? They don't do anything about it.
That is it. So, and also, if you are going to still be so adamant and just saying, I believe, that makes you just as the devil.
That's it. No difference.
No difference.
Yeah. If you even believe and tremble,
mm-hmm.
and you don't do anything about it.
Because he's the devil and he did that. So if you can't do the very same thing, you're going to be like the devil.
Yeah.
Continue?
Yeah.
But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without work is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar?
Yeah, right. That is another twist now from what Shaul was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Shaul was saying that He was not justified by what he did. So there is actually no conflict here. What Jacob is saying is that Abraham was justified by his works, which manifested his faith. Shaul was saying that your works does not justify you. It is the faith that justifies you. So there's actually no conflict here. It's just Jacob going another step further to clarify that your works, what you actually do, manifests your faith. Right. Verse 22.
See thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect.
All right. So if we understand this here, it's very critical that we understand this, then we can understand Shaul's teachings. If we understand this, we will understand these dialogues about we are not justified by the works of the law, but through the faith of Messiah. It is the same thing. What we do manifests our faith, but what we do alone without faith does not justify us. Well, it's very hard to explain this. The Christians battle with this. A whole lot of people coming with the Lord, that's just basically it.
You know what I'm saying is a personal experience, is a personal understanding. Because to even break it down at times, it's like they just cannot get it. So until they are there, they can say, oh, this is how it is, this is what it means.
Yeah. Verse 22.
Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect.
By works was faith made perfect. So for example, you have the last money. In your pocket, and the Ruach urges you to give someone that money. Now you say you're a person of faith. Now your faith will be tested here because you don't have any more money. It's the last money, but you are being willed to give that money. Your faith is made perfect when you hand over that money to that person. The works, you don't have in your mind, oh, I have this to give the person. You obey. You obey and you give, and you don't even worry, because you know your faith again will let you believe that as you have given, it will be multiplied unto you. It's no brainer, right? Verse 23.
And the scripture was fulfilled which said, Abraham believed Allah, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of Allah.
Abraham believed Allah, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness. That's the importance of faith, people. Verse 24.
Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only.
All right, he didn't say not by faith. He said not by faith only. It's a combination of faith and works. Our faith being manifested by what we do, by our works. Verse 25.
Likewise also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works, when she had received the messenger and had sent them out another way.
And we know that her faith was in the ability of Yasharal to overcome her city.
Right.
She said, everyone was fearful of you, and we know that you're going to destroy this place. So that is why she was justified by faith. She believed. Verse 26.
For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without work is dead also.
We see the simile here. Faith cannot exist without works. Faith is not effective, rather, without works. Just as the body is not effective, the body is dead without the spirit. All righty? All right. So the Messiah is of no effect to us if we seek to be justified by works. So if we put works first to justify us, and it is not our faith that is leading us to do good works, very important, then the Messiah is of no effect unto us, because the Messiah is the one in whom we put our faith, which justifies us before the Most High, which leads us to good works. Galatians 5, 1 to 14. Now, the book of Galatians is the strength of the Christians who think they understand what it's talking about. And many of our people shy away from it because it is the strength of the Christians. So let's look at Galatians 5, verse 1 from the eyes of the Nazarene, from the eyes of the follower of the way. Read, please.
Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Mashiach had made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Behold, I shall say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, Mashiach shall profit you nothing.
All right, Shaul was speaking here to the Galatians. After Shaul had set up the assembly in Galatia, the assemblies in Galatia, someone came in and were telling them that they have to go back into keeping the law in order to justify them. So this is what this conversation was about. Verse 3.
For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law. Mashiach is become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, you're fallen from grace.
All right, so here is the key. Christians believe that it's saying that if you have anything to do with the law, you're falling from grace. It's whether you are seeking to be justified by the law, going back into law keeping to justify you, to keep the whole law to justify you. Yeah, but it's not going to be clear to them. Remember, faith manifested through our works, not works. What we do that justify us. It is the faith that we have that justifies us. Shaul is saying here, if you are justified by the law, by what you do, then you're falling from grace. Verse 5.
For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith.
You see the disparity there. So those who are justified by the righteousness which is by faith, which is believing, actually believing and being led by what we believe, led by the Ruach. Verse 6.
For in Yahushua Mashiach, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love.
Faith which worketh through love.
Yep.
That is what is important. It is the faith. That's the difference with the letter of the law. Verse 7.
Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that he should not obey the truth? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. A little leaven the whole lump. I have confidence in you through the Master that he will be none otherwise minded, but he that troubleth you shall bear his judgment, whosoever he be.
So someone came in and turned the thing there of the Galatians, the doctrines that were handed to them, the teachings that were handed to them, and led them in a different path. He says, he that troubleth you shall bear his judgment. And that is why we go to verse 1 of Galatians verse 8 to 9. Galatians 1, 8 to 9. We see the Apostle Shaul getting very angry. Let's go from 6.
6. I marvel that ye are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Mashiach unto another gospel.
This is it. This was what plagued the Galatians. The Christians don't understand this because they don't use the precept. They don't match up the precept, so they don't understand it. It is someone came in and was changing the teaching, bringing them back under the law, bringing them back to the old covenant and away from the new covenant. That's what the book of Galatians was about. They were bringing them back onto law keeping. All right? But he was saying, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the favor of Messiah. Unto another gospel.
Another.
Yeah, verse 7.
Which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Mashiach.
So this person came in and wanted to change everything. So that's why the Apostle Shaul declared in verse 8 to 9.
But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say I now again. If any man preach any other gospel unto you than that he have received, let him be accursed.
All right. So that was the whole bottom line of the Galatians 5. Yeah. Verse 11 now.
And I, brethren, if I yet preach circumcision, why do I yet suffer persecution? Then is the offense of the stake ceased? I would they were even cut off which trouble you.
All right, so this is a troublemaker person. He says he wished they were even cut off. This was such an important thing that Shaul was willing that they be cut off. Serious talk. Verse 13.
For brethren, he have been called unto liberty, only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another.
So the liberty, the freedom is in faith. It's faith that gives us the freedom. And where does that freedom come from? The leading of the Ruach. The Ruach leads us and takes us wherever it wants us to go. That is freedom. But it says, let not your freedom be an occasion to the flesh. So not that you are free now, you're going back into the bondage of the flesh, going back into circumcision and keeping the law. Now totally rejecting faith in the Messiah and going back to the works of the law to justify you. Verse 14.
For all the law is fulfilled in one word. Even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Oh, I forgot this last part here to do. But by love, serve one another. We are all servants serving each other. All right? All the law is fulfilled in one word, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But if you bite and devour, okay, I'm not there. Yeah, that's it. The Messiah is of none effect if we seek to be justified by what we do. All right, and this is one that we did in our teaching. We're doing good time. Faith versus my own righteousness. How much time gone? Yeah? Oh. Faith versus my own righteousness. Can't leave this out. Philippians 3. Where was I? Yep. 3 to 11. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
For we are the circumcision which worship alone in the spirit and rejoice in Mashiach Yahusha and have no confidence in the flesh.
All right. So here is circumcision now. Circumcision was the whole core of the problem back in those times, because circumcision was a seal of the first, what do you call it? The Sinaitic covenant. I don't want to call it the old covenant. Yeah, but the covenant at Sinai, the law covenant. Circumcision was a seal. And when the battle was between those who were circumcised and those who were not, those who were circumcised looked down on those who were not, and those who were circumcised lightly esteemed those who were not circumcised. And we have the same thing today, the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed. Hey, the opposite. Of course, that is the evil side of it. Those who have this evil thing are priding themselves above those who do not. And by the way, there is a phrase that people are using now for themselves. The unvaxxed are calling themselves the pure bloods. The pure bloods, yeah. All right. Verse 3.
We did verse 3.
Yeah.
Verse 4 now.
So we are the circumcision which worship Allah in the Ruach. This is faith. And rejoice in Messiah Yahusha and have no confidence in the flesh. All right. Verse 4.
Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinketh that he are whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, an Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee. Concerning zeal, persecuting the assemblies, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless.
All right. Concerning zeal, persecuting the assembly, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. So we see the righteousness that is in the law, we're going to see now, is of a lower level than the righteousness that is of faith in Messiah, Yahusha. Because the Apostle Shaul here was blameless in the righteousness which is in the law, but we will see that he was willing to give up all of that for the opportunity to know the Messiah. Verse 7.
But what thing were gained to me, those I counted loss for a Mashiach. Yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of a Mashiach Messiah, my master, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win a Mashiach.
All right, so this is faith, suffering the loss of all things and be willing to count it as nothing.
No complaint.
Thus, that I may win Messiah. That is the righteousness. And this is why the Most High will see us and justify us as being righteous, because we're willing to give up everything to serve him. Yeah? Verse 9.
And be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of a Mashiach, the righteous, which is of Allah by faith.
The righteousness which is of Allah by faith. Now this very verse here. The Apostle Shaul was willing to give up everything, not having his own righteousness, which is of the law, he says. So his righteousness, which is of the law, is him actually doing the things which they are in the law. The statutes and judgments are in the law. But his righteousness now is through the faith that is in the Messiah. And that righteousness which is in the faith of the Messiah will lead him to do that which is right, to do the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. And that righteousness which is of Allah by faith. So faith here in the Messiah far supersedes the righteousness, my own righteousness, which is of the law. Verse 10.
That I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, being made conformable unto his death, if by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead.
This is the power of faith right here. By any means necessary. And that is only possible through faith, because you move from faith to faith. So moving from faith to faith, you have the ability to attain unto the resurrection of the dead. Otherwise, you're going to be limited. And of course, we also looked at the healing power through faith. You can look at that, James 5:14 to 15, Mark 10:46 to 52. I guess maybe we can look at that, time permitting. James 5:14 to 15. You look at that already, I think. James 5:14 to 15. Did we? James 5:14. Yeah. Yeah, we did that already, right? Yeah. And the other one is Mark 10:46 to 52. Mark 10:46 to 52. Did we? All right, this is the account of the blind man that didn't relent when they were passing. He called out, "Thou son of David." And the disciples were telling him to be quiet, right? But he cried even more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And when the Messiah heard that, he would not give up. And this is another thing with faith. Faith means not giving up. Verse 49.
And Yahusha stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, he calleth thee. And he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Yahusha. And Yahusha answered and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? The blind man said unto him, Master, that I may receive my sight. And Yahusha said unto him, Go thy way, thy faith had made thee whole. And immediately he received his sight and followed Yahusha in the way.
Follow Yahusha where?
In the way.
Follow the followers of the way. All right. All right. Works of the law versus faith. We dealt with this earlier as well. Works of the law. Let's go to big, bad Galatians 3. Did we go there before?
I think that's right. Oh, that was Roman.
Let me see. As I said before, time was against me with this one, so I didn't get to organize it as good. No, we didn't do it.
No, didn't do it.
This is one of the Christian weapons again, so we're going to look at it. Go ahead.
O foolish Galatian, who art bewitched you, that he should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Yahushua Mashiach had been evidently set forth, crucified among you. This only would I learn of you. Receive ye the Spirit by the work of the law, or by the hearing of faith?
As we said, one constant in the Galatians, they were taught the way by the apostle Shaul, and then someone came in and wanted to bring them back to being justified, not by faith in Yahusha, but justified by the works of the law. Verse 3.
Are you foolish, having begun in the Spirit? Are ye now made perfect by the flesh? Have ye suffered so many things in vain? If it be yet in vain.
All right, so here's this now. When you go back into the flesh, the suffering is going to cease. He's saying, have you suffered so many things in vain? Because they that did what? They begun in the Spirit. And when you are in the Ruach, you are going to be led to suffer. There's no two way about it with our people, with our faith. Our faith is comprised of suffering because it's in the Spirit, and the flesh has to suffer for the Spirit to prosper. There's no two way about it.
And that's bringing down yourself and elevate.
That's why denying self.
Esteem each other above yourself.
That's it. So, have you suffered so many things in vain, if it yet be in vain? Verse 5.
He therefore that ministereth to you the Spirit and worketh miracle among you, doeth he it by the work of the law or by the hearing of faith?
This is the Messiah. Worketh miracles among you, ministereth to you the Ruach. Verse 6.
Even as Abraham believed Allah, and it was accounted to him for righteousness.
Know ye therefore
that they which are of faith, the same are the children of Abraham.
So what he's saying here, the children of Abraham in the new covenant are not those who say they are Israelites, are not those who say Old Testament only.
Faith.
It is those who are of faith and of the faith of Yahusha, who is the doorway into the new covenant. Galatians 3 verse 8.
And the scripture foreseeing that Allah would justify the heathen through faith, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, In thee shall all nations be blessed.
All right, Yahuwah would justify the heathen, the Gentiles, through faith. Verse 9.
So then they which be of faith are blessed with faithful Abraham.
All right. Verse 10, I think, yeah.
For as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse, for it is written, curse is everyone that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them.
All right, so the Christian will look on this and say, the works of the law, if you are of the works of the law, you're under the curse. This is not what the Apostle Shaul means. It means that if you are seeking to be justified by the works of the law, by what you are doing, you're under the curse. If you are going back into the law covenant, you're under the curse. Because what? Our covenant now is the new covenant in Messiah. And if you are in the new covenant and going backwards in the old covenant, you bring yourself back under a curse. All right? Continue.
But that no man is justified by the law in the sight of Allah. It is evident, for the just shall live by faith.
No man is justified by the law. This is what Shaul was always speaking about. Not that the law is done away with, but the law does not justify you. The just shall live by what?
Faith.
All right. Verse 12.
And the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them.
So we have a disparity here. The law is not of faith. Is the Apostle Shaul saying that the law has no faith in it? Is this what he's saying? Because we have this from the Messiah. Let's look at what the Messiah says. Let's look at what the Messiah says here. Matthew 23:23. To match up this with that, Matthew 23:23. Read that, please.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithes to tithes of mint, and anise, and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matter of the law. Judgment, mercy, and faith, these ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone.
All right, so we see here that faith is one of the weightier matters of the law. So Shaul could not be saying that the law has nothing to do with faith. He's saying by going according to the works of the law, that is not of faith. Okay? Because if we go to Psalm 119, verse 86, we see here, Psalms 119, 186. That's why it's important to use precept upon precept. If you read the one line, you will be tempted to think that's what he's saying. But when you have another verse like this, we see that that's not what he could be saying. Read, please.
All thy commandments are faithful. They persecute me wrongfully. Help thou me.
All thy commandments are faithful. All right? So all of them are of faith. But he's speaking about living according to the works of the law. 87. Read it, please.
87. They had almost consumed me upon earth, but I forsook not thy precept.
All right. So the precepts are so important. The precepts protect us from the wicked. All right. And this is why they can tell us the lies and all the twistings, but we can get the truth from whatever when we use our precepts. All right. Galatians 3:13. Go to 13 now.
A Mashiach hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hanged on a tree.
All right. So a little friend always says that the law is a curse because he says he has redeemed us from the curse of the law. Yeah, but this is not what it means. The law has blessings and curses. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 to 14 details the curses. And from about 15 or 16 to 68 deals with the curses. So the blessings from 1 to 14 and the rest of it are the curses. So he's saying the Messiah had to redeem us from the curse of the law. Not actually that the law is a curse, but the law contains a curse or curses. All right? So it says the Messiah has become a curse for us. And that is why he is the propitiation or the atonement for our sin. So we are under the curses of the law, but it is him to who we have to go to in order to be able to be released from the curses of the law. Verse 14.
That the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Yahusha Mashiach, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith.
True.
Faith.
So this is what the Apostle Shaul was batting for. Faith, faith, faith. Everything, faith opens the door for everything. He was not saying that now we have faith, we should be lawless. Yeah? Okay, I won't go through that part of it. So let's just look. This is gonna be the last set that we're looking at. Faith before and after the law was given. Because we have to emphasize, some people seem to think that before the law there was no faith. This is not so. Hebrews 11, 21 to 23. Hebrews 11, 21 to 23. Go ahead.
By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones.
All right, we're talking about faith before the law was given. And we're going to see faith after the law as well. This was before the law. Verse 23.
By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandments.
See there? Not afraid. No fear when it comes to faith. So because they saw that he was a proper child, they were willing to hide him, not knowing what would transpire. But through belief, they believe in the Most High, that the Most High will protect them. 24.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Continue.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of Allure than to enjoy the pleasure of sins for a season.
That is the thing with faith. When you are with faith, you are willing to suffer. Simple, simple, simple. And this was before our covenant. 26.
Esteeming the reproach of our Mashiach greater riches than the treasure in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward.
That's it for us also. Do we have respect unto the promise that we were given? The Messiah said, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. So why am I on this earth? If I have faith, why am I on this earth running down mansions? Yeah? I have to believe in the Messiah for what he told me. That is faith. Yeah? So if you are willing to give up house for the Most High, he says, you are no way gonna lose your reward. Verse 27.
By faith, he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible.
All right. Look at this verse. Moses forsook Egypt through faith. He says, not fearing the wrath of the king. So this is why today, when people are running to take this thing, they are fearing the wrath of their employer, fearing the wrath of their government. Yeah, running, oh, we'll have to take it because there's going to come a time when all of us will have to take it. How many times we've heard that? They fear the wrath of the king. But Moses endured as if he saw the Most High. That is faith. He believes so much and was so firm in his belief. He had so much faith. It was as if he was seeing the Most High. 28.
Through faith, he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them.
Yeah.
By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, assaying to do, were drowned.
All right, so these now were after the law. Verse 30.
By faith, the wall of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days.
All right, what verse are we at now?
31.
All right, 32 to 40. Go ahead.
Scroll up a little bit.
Let me get it. Yeah,
Don't look a bit.
32.
And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets.
All right, now we're going to see what can be achieved through faith, the power of faith, and why we must live in faith, or else there will be no power manifested through us. It's as simple as that. We can go on being believers, sitting here comfortable and going after the works of the law to justify ourselves. But if you are not living in faith, there will be no power manifested in us. Verse 34, 33.
33. Who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions.
All right, subdued kingdoms. All right, this is physical power in war. Wrought righteousness, righteousness through faith. Obtain promises. The promises are obtained through faith. Stop the mouths of lions, miracles through faith. Continue.
Quench the violence of fire.
Protection and power through faith. Continue.
Escape the edge of the sword.
Protection again.
Out of the weakness were made strong.
Strengthened through faith.
Wax valiant in fight.
Marvelous in battle.
Turn to flight the armies of the aliens.
All right, defeating the wicked in battle through faith. 35.
Women receive their dead raised to life again.
Miracles through faith.
And others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection.
Tolerance through faith. It was said that when these people were being persecuted because of their faith, many of them won over their persecutors when they saw how joyfully they accepted the persecution.
Right.
This is faith that gives us the ability to overcome. Faith gives us the ability to withstand. When the enemy comes to us, we know who we serve and we do not fear death. It's another thing. Those who are truly of faith do not fear death.
Yep.
Continue. Not accepting deliverance.
Yeah,
So-
this is the part I want to say something when you're
Yeah,
finished.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Sometimes we are going through a difficult time, brothers.
Go ahead.
Very rough time. Going through it like we're losing everything. Everywhere you turn is problem. Problem, one behind another. Someone see you and sorry for you. I want to come and deliver you from all those things. You're saying, no, don't accept that. Yes, somebody come to say, hey, I can help you with all these things. But we are going to love, count it all joy, going through all those things. We're going to accept, not accept deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Because some of us might not reach there because we accept deliverance from someone who see the blessing coming and stop you with their so-called good words and good help.
It's the same thing. You put this to this injection again today. There is going to time, he calls it all. There's going to come a time when we have to make a decision that we cannot buy and sell, or we cannot go certain places. We cannot be among these people, or else they are going to either imprison or kill people as they go through their agenda. So the deliverance from this is to take this thing that they are causing us to take. Will we accept deliverance, their deliverance? That is the question. The people of faith will reject that deliverance and will prefer to be tortured or to be killed because we are looking forward to
a better resurrection.
Verse 36.
And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourging, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment.
So we have faith here having two faces. All of these are the positive ones. You see there?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that would say are positive, power, etc. But then there's the other side to faith. And this is what we are having here. Tortured, not accepting deliverance. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings. Yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. That also comes with faith. Are we willing? And that is a person of faith. Willing to just believe, and wherever he or she is taken, whether it be good to us, sound good to us, or it sounds bad, we are willing to go there.
As I'm looking at imprisonment here, someplace in Revelation, I forgot what verse. Satan will put, I think it's 10, will put some of you in prison. You see again? Imprisonment.
Yeah.
So by faith, we're not going to worry ourselves. The scripture says it will be only for 10 days. And if you are faithful, even unto death, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Even unto death. So the time I come when the Babylon boys, the Babylon people might come and imprison us. Let's not give up at that point. Let's keep on pressing, even in those prison walls, because it is faith also.
More woes for those who are not of faith, who look at this and say, whoa, do I have to go through this? Can I go through this? Verse 37.
They were stoned. They were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskin, being destitute, afflicted, tormented.
How many of us are willing to go through these things? How many of us? All right. Verse 38. You see, our faith, our walk is not a pretty one. It will end up pretty, mind you, when we are rewarded, but the journey is not pretty. Just as if when you have some reality shows on the TV and you see the people have to go through mud and walk through this and all sort of muck and all sort of thing. But in the end, you see them smiling, victorious. I won, big celebration. It's the same thing. We have to go through this roughness because it is through faith. Go ahead.
Of whom the world was not worthy. That's the old one, 39 we need, right?
Yeah, the same 38.
38. Of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in desert and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth.
So these may be the destitute of the earth. Those who the earth, they abused in this earth. And it says the world was not worthy of them. Why? Because the world is an unrighteous world, a wicked world. And the world was not worthy of these righteous men. Verse 39.
Scroll back to 38 a little bit there. We can also fit ourselves in verse 38. Of whom the world was not worthy. That should be us. They wandered in desert and in mountains and in dens and cave of the earth. Are we willing today? Are we willing to accept not being worthy of? Are we willing to wander in desert and in mountains and in dens and in cave? Are we willing? So we see we can place ourselves right here and say, you know what? Wow, this is really in our time. But are we willing? 39. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, receive not the promise.
So they went through all of that and they did not receive the promise. But guess what? Verse 40.
This is why.
Yeah.
Allah, having provided some better things for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
Better thing for us is salvation through Messiah Yahusha. That they without us should not be made perfect. So it is Messiah Yahusha, faith in the Messiah, that brings us to perfection.
We can also place ourselves in verse 40 also, because everything above, we're talking about them. These, they, and these all having obtained a good report through faith, receive not the promise. And we see in verse 40, it says, Allah having provided some better things for us, now we are included. Us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So the Most High is going to do one big thing. Even though they did their part, they died receiving nothing, but he's waiting on us now, patiently, but that patience will not be forever.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are victorious, he will do one thing, one judgment. Who is good, stay good. Who is righteous, stay righteous. Who is holy, stay holy. Who is bad, they're going to stay bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we are right at the end of this age. We can actually place ourselves right in these scriptures.
All right, so that is where we have it for today. Faith without works is dead. Without faith, it is impossible to please Allah. And faith brings us to all sorts of possibilities. Faith is the willingness to believe in the moving, in the work of the Most High, and to be justified by believing in him and believing in his Son, and not be justified by what we do. Without faith, we cannot enter the kingdom. Let me say it again. Without faith, we cannot enter the kingdom. Revelation 14:12.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Allah and the faith of Yahusha.
The faith of Yahusha is following the commands of Yahusha, walking as he walked in obedience to his commands, walking in the Spirit in obedience to the Spirit of the law. The faith of Yahusha will lead us to do the commandments of the Most High. Faith without works is dead. Okay? So, we don't have faith in in an injection. We have faith in the Most High's ability. So we are not those who ask, what am I going to do? Where I'm going to work? What am I going to do this? We are those who look to the Most High and say, Father, we believe that you will take us through all of this. We believe that you will provide. We have no worries about what we shall eat or what we shall drink or what we shall put on. All right? So that's a look at faith here today. Let me get this thing off. Just a look at faith and impossible to please the Most High without faith. All right? Have anything you want to say, brother?
Real quick, what is jumping out of this teaching today? That our earthly self, is blocking the faith of Yahusha. This is what it is bringing out. Mm-hmm. This one is a no-brainer. Since it is really a fact that ourselves, our flesh, our earthly self is preventing the faith of Yahusha, what do we do going forward? What do we do going forward? That is a question. Self is blocking us from the faith that will lead us to the kingdom. Self is blocking the faith of Yahusha that may lead us to the kingdom. So what are we going to do?
Matthew 16:24.
That is what is jumping out of today's teaching. The onus is upon us. What are we going to do when we come to realize that the flesh is blocking the faith of Yahusha? That's my case. So that's it today for me.
And just remember, when Jeshurun waxed fat, when Yeshurun waxed fat and started to kick, when our flesh starts getting so well fed, yes, we rebel against the Most High and we lose faith and we lack faith so much that we go into idolatry and the Most High starts to abhor us and reject us, and we are slated for destruction. Faith without works is dead, but we have to give up on the self. We have to deny the self and be willing to move into another realm. The true believer is not what has been produced to us through the religions today. The true believer is a total outcast from the system. Total outcast. One who lives by faith and not by sight. Okay. All righty. Let me see what's happening here. Yeah. All right. I don't know if Shamuel has a quick word. If he was listening. All right.
Yeah, bro, you guys you've said it all. You have said it all. One important aspect as well is Galatians chapter 5 verse 14. I think I'm not sure. Can you just show that on the screen? If
Galatians
5:14, I think.
Yeah.
It almost sounds as if when we say faith, all right, only faith, and then when we add the obedience aspect to it, oftentimes many believers do not understand how to obey or what is it to obey. All right, so it becomes an imaginary thing. I don't know if you can just put some clarity on that and then you can just sum it up.
I don't know if you could what?
If you can put a clarity on that in terms of what obedience looks like after faith, after having faith, what does obeying looks? What are we obeying, or what are they to obey? Because many ask, what law? All right, those are the questions I often get. People say, what law are we to obey?
Okay. All right. The spirit of the law, that is the obedience. The spirit of the law is actually what the law was meant to bring out. So the letter of the law is obeying the law exactly to the letter. The spirit of the law is now being able to decipher what righteousness is this law supposed to bring out. And then you walk in that righteousness. That's basically what what obedience actually is. So in effect, you actually are obeying the law, but not to the letter. You are obeying it in the spirit and to the spirit of the law. What the law actually means, what the Most High actually meant to come out of the law, that is what you obey. And that is walking in the spirit. Yeah. So in that case, as Mahar just says, you don't look to dot every I and cross every T, saying, okay, the law says this, so I'm going to do this. Those who walk in the letter of the law are those who say, show it to me in the law, as we also like to use the case of gambling. Show it to me in the law. All right? The spirit of the law is supposed to get us away from covetousness, etc. So even though it doesn't say thou shalt not gamble, but you understand that gambling brings forth covetousness, greed, etc. And all those things are in the law. So a person who is in the way will not gamble, even though the law does not say do not gamble. Okay? All right, Shamuel.
Yes, bro.
Did that explain what you are?
Yes. Yeah, to me it's very clear. I just pray that those listening as well, because it's a very fine line. I mean, from what I'm hearing today, it's a fine line.
Yes.
And it takes a leading of the Holy Spirit to be able to break into the right, accurate understanding of it. So, but it always starts with denying self. Then we get to understand how to be able to walk in the spirit of the law. I think that's where it starts from. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, bro. All right, let me close off here before it gets to the 3-hour mark. This is Chazak Eliyahu Yasharal here from Just a Word. Let me get over to. All right. Thank you for watching our weekly Shabbat teaching. You can check out our other videos on our channel. I'm sure you will find something that is interesting. Please share, like, subscribe, comment if you do so wish, so that we can get this this word going around. All right? Okay. So until next time, shalom, shalom, shalom to those who are on YouTube. We will be, of course, continuing on Just a Word Radio for a few at justawordradio.com. We will be live. We are live on Just a Word Radio. We will continue live. But for those